Hello students, today we will be discussing the last part of the chapter of democratic rights. In this lecture, we will see how to secure these rights and the expanding scope of rights. Firstly, let's see how we can secure these rights. Now, fundamental rights, as you know, are in the constitution are important because they are enforceable. We have a right to seek the enforcement of the previously mentioned rights in all the other three videos that we did. This is called the right to constitutional remedies. Now, this itself is a fundamental right. That is the right to seek its enforcement. This is the right that makes all the other rights effective. If any right is violated, that is, if anyone denies us our rights or acts against it, be it a citizen or even a government, we have the right to approach courts and seek remedy from them. That means that courts make our rights enforceable. They provide justice to us. If a fundamental right, that is the right we discussed in the earlier videos, such as right to freedom, right to equality, etc., is violated, we can directly go to the Supreme Court or the High Court of our state to seek remedy. That is the highest court in the country or the highest court of any state. That makes us realize the importance of these fundamental rights. As said earlier, fundamental rights are guaranteed against any government body as well. If they can be no law or action that violates fundamental rights. If any act of the legislator or the executive takes away or limits any of the fundamental rights, it will be invalid. The Supreme Court and the High Court have the power to issue directions, orders, or writs for the enforcement of the fundamental rights. Courts can also enforce these rights against private bodies. The Supreme Court and the High Court have the power to issue directions, order, or writs for the enforcement, meaning the courts can order such violating persons to stop violating or to compensate for doing wrong. That is, they have to pay the victim or be punished for what they have done. And they are bound to follow what the court says. The judiciary is therefore a very powerful body and can do whatever is needed to protect the rights of the citizens, and hence their orders must be followed. Further, a person can go to the court if rights of a larger public are violated and can seek remedy on their behalf. This is known as public interest litigation or PIL. It is a suit filed in public or social interest. For example, if the roads in your area are not constructed properly and is causing a nuisance to all using it, you yourself can represent them and file a PIL or public interest litigation. Moving on, now let's understand the expanding scope of rights. So far, we have been discussing only fundamental rights. You may think that these are the only rights that citizens have, but that is not true. While fundamental rights are the source of all rights, our constitution and law offers a wide range of rights. Over the years, the scope of rights have increased. That is, the area it covers and it protects have increased. The fundamental rights are not limited in nature. They protect a wide range of rights. But that doesn't mean these are the only rights that are available. There are numerous rights that are given to us. It is important for these rights to be dynamic and change to fit the current situation. You need to have rights that fit the current situation. Although the constitution was made in the 1950s, it's very relevant today. And why do you think that is? That is because the constitution is flexible and adapting, yet its core structure is strong and unaltered. From time to time, the courts give judgments to expand the scope of rights. Now, what does this mean? As the country has grown since the time the constitution came into force or existence, new problems have been arising. The constitution cannot cater for all of these in detail. Hence, the courts have chosen to interpret or explain how certain fundamental rights or other rights can be applied to fit these situations. For example, the freedom of press, which was derived from the freedom of speech and expression, right to privacy, which was said to be a part of right to life and personal liberty, etc. Similarly, right to education was also included in the Constitution in 2008. Now, school education has become a right for Indian citizens. The government are responsible for providing free and compulsory education to all children up to the age of 14. The Constitution provides many more rights which may not be fundamental rights. For example, the right to property is not a fundamental right, but it's a constitutional right. Right to vote in elections is also an important constitutional right. Now, what is a constitutional right? These are also rights that the Constitution provides. However, it is not applicable to everyone. For example, right to vote is a constitutional right as it applies to only Indian citizens who have attained the age of majority, that is 18. So this right is only given to those who are above 18 and then therefore can vote. Sometimes expansion in rights takes place in human rights. Now, human rights are universal moral claims that may or may not have been recognized by law. These are the rights that belong to every person in the world from birth to death. They are the moral principles or norms that describe certain standards of human behavior. With the expansion of democracy all over the world, there's a great pressure on governments to accept these claims. Some international covenants or treaties have also contributed to the expansion of rights. Treaties are basically laws or objects that two or more countries agree upon to implement in their individual country. New rights emerge as societies develop or as the new constitutions are made. For example, the Constitution of South Africa guarantees its citizens several kinds of new rights which were not there before, such as right to privacy so that the citizens or their home cannot be searched, their phones cannot be tapped, and their communication cannot be opened. Right to environment that is not harmful to their health or well-being. Right to have access to adequate housing. Right to have access to healthcare services, sufficient food and water. No one may be refused emergency medical treatment. This we come to an end of this lecture, and I pose to a question to you. Many people think that the right to work or right to health, right to maintain livelihood, and right to privacy should be made fundamental rights in India as well. What do you think? What kind of rights do you think should be fundamental in our country? Thank you. With that, we come to an end of this chapter. Thank you for listening.